The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report. It's another special edition of the Pro Wrestling Report in depth.
Speaking of
Something written up there?
Speaking of fixing things, that's got to get fixed.
You levying these demands on me. Who the hell do you think you are? Ninja, please. We're talking about TNA. We're going in-depth talking about TNA over the course of the last 2 weeks here on the special online series. We've talked about what's right with TNA, what's wrong with TNA, and now we've got a civic duty to share with you how we think you can fix those things.
First, you pull the pin, and then you throw it. You know how you fix
You made me lose my place here. Let's first do this. We talked about the problems, but one of the big problems being their business structure and how they run their business. And really, that's the core of things that need to be fixed. So perhaps there, you do just simply start over. I'm not saying you oust Dixie Carter. I'm not saying you oust Vince Russo. I'm not saying you oust any of the other senior agents or senior business officials in the company.
I disagree.
But maybe you do.
You got to start over with a new creative. It's not working. It hasn't
In
worked.
some cases, it is.
For who?
It's worked for Bully Ray. It's worked for Bobby Roode. It's worked for Crimson. It's worked for Gunner.
Oh, you cannot say it's worked for Gunner. You cannot say it's worked for Crimson. It hasn't worked yet.
What has worked for them? We talked about them as some of the right
Listen,
things TNA is doing.
And that's not the creative. That's the talent getting it over.
Okay.
Remember when Dusty Rhodes came out in polka dots?
In the Belly Welly?
Yeah. Remember
I
that?
do remember him in Sweet
They
Sapphire.
did that as a way to try to bury him. Okay? He turned it around and got it over. They had no choice but to do something better with him then.
I think we went into pretty significant detail on how you fix some of those business issues over the course of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So let's focus on the talents, David, here. And I think there's a long list of talents that should be not necessarily the focal point, but the ones remaining after the dust clears in TNA wrestling. I'm going to go over the list, and as I go over the list, I'll give the opportunity to stop me, chime in on what you think, or if you think that is from left field or right field, if you will.
Or no field.
And the first name on the list, I would say, as far as the people, talent-wise, that TNA should focus on building the company around after they fix everything else back at the house. Samoa Joe, Hernandez, Bully Ray, AJ Styles.
AJ Styles was the face of that company.
Remember when he won the championship, ticker tape, all kinds of confetti, and it was a great
AJ
moment?
Styles was the face of that company. Why has he fallen so much?
I don't think AJ can be blamed for it.
Was AJ on the last pay-per-view?
Nope. Not at all.
He's the MVP of that company. And they couldn't find a spot for him.
Right? Bobby Roode. Ken Anderson.
You know,
If allowed to, and maybe I should say this because people think that you are close friends with Ken Anderson. So
absolutely.
we saw how good he can be and how great he can be in WWE. We've seen how great he can be in TNA. Remember that asshole promo from, what was it, last year, earlier this year? It was
fantastic.
like, wow, that was great. However,
They
took
got a
the ball
T-shirt
away.
out right away.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Ken. They'll give him the ball, and they don't even give him a chance to fumble it. They just take it away right away. Twice.
Ric Flair, ambassador, manager, or as you said, J.J. Dillon.
He should have stayed with Fortune and been the J.J. Dillon of that group.
Yep.
That group would have gotten over so much more, because right now, Fortune really isn't even a group anymore. They don't come in the ring
Only when
together.
it's convenient, like right now, facing Bobby Roode every week.
They don't come out and, they're not all in their suits anymore. They don't act like they are the next big thing in wrestling.
And really, is it or is it not true that you are as important as you believe you are? You are as big as you believe you are. You are as big a star as you know you can
As
be.
you feel you are.
And you have to exude that for others to believe it.
Here's a prime example of how TNA has failed with their talent. We were in
some cases.
Cincinnati
Ohio.
for lockdown.
Pay-per-view.
We go out for dinner.
With the Pope.
And you know what? We're not going to mention what talent was with us.
The Pope wasn't there.
But Al Snow was with us, okay? And there was other TNA talent with us. Guys that have been featured on TV.
This is...
Right?
Yeah.
More people came up and said, "Are you Al Snow?" Than they asked the other TNA talent. They didn't even recognize the other TNA talent.
It was an, "Oh, yeah, you are,"
Yeah.
when they were over to talk to Al.
That just shows you how amazing the machine is from the WWE/F. When a guy that hasn't been on their TV in, 5 or 6 years?
Yeah.
Is more over than guys that are on TV every week.
Cody Rhodes is sitting in a bar. Will he get noticed?
Depends what kind of bar it is.
Ted DiBiase is sitting in a bar. Will he get noticed?
You know what? Maybe not. Maybe he will. I don't know. But we're talking...
Well, one argument you've made, though, is a lot of these regular-looking guys are not the Triple H's, the Undertakers.
But what I'm saying is the people we were sitting with were upper mid-card guys.
They're, at least one was a former world champion.
Okay? And they didn't recognize him. I'm willing to bet if Punk, Orton, Cena, Del Rio...
Cody, Miz.
No. Miz, R-Truth. I'm not going to say...
Heath Slater.
Barrett, Sheamus walk into any place, they're going to be recognized.
Immediately.
Okay? AJ, Bobby, I'll say Ken, you can say Daniels, whatever else, they may not get recognized.
On another occasion, not this one, in Hammond, Indiana, we did go to dinner with Kevin Nash and many of those people. Same thing.
Absolutely. Nash, you know what? He's 7 feet tall. You know he's somebody.
So am I. 6'9".
Yeah.
Jack.
Sideways.
Christy Hemme. She really is one of the best things to happen to TNA Wrestling in the last year. Putting her in that ring announcer role, brilliant.
Why wouldn't they?
Brilliant. She's always there. Boom, right there. And Hemme. Brilliant.
And guys, well, when they're clicking through and they see her, they're going to stop and watch.
Yep. Because they won't see the bug that says TNA Wrestling on the bottom corner of the screen to indicate what it is.
They're going to see a hot redheaded chick.
There's no bug. That doesn't say. They don't tag their programming.
I wasn't disagreeing with you.
I'm just saying that's another point that is basic, but be that as it may. Kurt Angle.
You know what? Kurt Angle is fantastic.
Shouldn't be wrestling every week. Shouldn't be on house shows.
He should be a special attraction.
Yep. For his and everybody's good.
Because Kurt is breaking down. You look at him physically, he's nowhere near the Kurt Angle he was even a year or two ago.
Yeah.
Let him be a special attraction. Let him mean more.
But to his point, he's been training actively to get to the position he's in now for this Olympic thing that he's working.
Right.
So,
but Sting and Kurt Angle do not need to be the TNA World Champions. They don't.
Karen Jarrett.
Karen Jarrett might be one of the highlights of that entire roster because she is so good and she is so believable at what she does.
Robbie E. and Rob Terry. I'm still on this bandwagon.
You know what? I think those two guys have potential to be something
together.
good. Yes.
Together.
And I see a similarity with Road Dogg and Billy.
Really? Do tell, please.
Road Dogg and Billy were two guys that were completely lost.
Without each other.
Very talented, but couldn't get over on their own.
Rockabilly. The roadie. And actually, the roadie was over.
He was, but...
For a time.
But if you really think about it, you have Rob Terry and Robbie E. Robbie E is a good worker.
Mm-hmm. And unique, and I think marketable.
They both have a good look. Put them as a team, run with it, see what happens. Now, I'm not saying they would have the same success as the New Age Outlaws, but there is some similarity there. Two guys you have no idea what to do with, let's throw them together. Kind of like Beer Money. Who would have thought James Storm and Bobby Roode
would become one of the best tag teams in the business
absolutely,
right now, if not the best. Matt Morgan, the Blueprint.
You know, I like Matt Morgan a lot. I think he needs to be a monster.
Right.
He's a legit 7-footer, does not belong going to the top rope.
Is Mark Henry a prime example of how Matt Morgan can be a monster? Mark
Absolutely.
Henry never told us how great he was or how bad he was or how big he was. Mark Henry just went out there and did it.
Mark Henry, he's a stud. Mm-hmm. He really is. I can't believe I'm saying that out loud, but he's believable.
The Pope, D'Angelo De Niro.
You know,
Let's go back to those days when you were a Pope hater. When he was cutting those amazing promos and he was involved in great stories in TNA.
You know what the Pope's biggest problem was?
What was that?
He got hurt.
Yeah, that was true.
If he doesn't get hurt with AJ Styles in that cage match,
Right.
I honestly think Pope...
He was on his way to being champion.
He could have main evented something.
Mm-hmm. EY, Eric Young. This is almost one of the most pathetic situations.
He's one of
in
the
TNA
most
wrestling.
underrated guys in that company.
Yeah, and proves it every time he's on
so
the air.
good at what he does. He connects with the fans, but they don't do anything with him. Why isn't he?
Do they know?
Why isn't he in the X division? Why isn't he working with Austin Aries, having great matches?
Do people want to see Eric Young have a great match, or do they want to be entertained comically?
He does
by
both.
Eric? Exactly. Speaking of both, the Motor City Machine Guns, and there's been some injury considerations here as well. Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, tremendous talents.
Fantastic tag.
Maybe can only go so far as being branded into a tag team or into tag team specialists, because what you've seen is with Chris Sabin's injury, they haven't really known what to do with Alex Shelley.
Well, no, because neither one of those guys is the breakout star. They need each other. That's who they are. Mm-hmm. They're kind of like...
And they're great at it.
They're kind of like the Midnight Express.
Doom, 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 doom. With or without Cornette?
Both. They can't be the Rockers because there isn't one Shawn Michaels.
Nor is there a plate glass window.
No. They could be like... And I'm not saying they wrestle like the British Bulldogs, but they could be like the Bulldogs or the Rougeaus. They will be a life tag team.
And that's fine. Work for the Road Warriors. Work for Demolition.
Absolutely.
Much. Kazarian.
Great talent. Super talent. Great guy. Good look. Why isn't he doing more?
Austin Aries. We talked about him in the What's Right segment. I think that's all out there already.
Aries is doing just fine.
Madison Rayne.
You know what? I honestly felt last year she was the best wrestling knockout / diva in the business.
Mm-hmm. And then what happened?
Did she get hurt? I don't even know where she is anymore.
Maybe we should check the Sunglass Hut. Maybe there are some open shifts. This one I struggle with, but I see something there. Magnus.
I think Magnus, when he was with Nigel, was a great team.
Yeah. What was it? London Unrising or something?
London Brawling?
Yeah. And keep in mind, TNA does great business in the UK.
Magnus looks like Hugh Jackman. Why don't they go with that? Run with that. Mm-hmm. Not to mention he's dating Mickie James.
ODB.
Bam! She is the most unique personality TNA has.
And another person,
and they don't use her.
Remember what was her little interview segment? I'll never forget when Charmel and her were sitting there, and just the one-liners, the innuendo, the hilarity, amazing. And I think that was another segment that just went away after 4 weeks.
Because it got over. And they didn't know what to do with it.
Oh my God, people like it, it's popular. Suicide. Or suicide, as your boy Pope calls him.
He's still around?
No, not at all. Occasionally, but over. People love the mask.
And they never had a mask for the guy. They had one kid's t-shirt that was crap. Why were they not selling hoods? I'll never understand that. Masks.
Finally, Velvet Sky.
You know,
the beautiful people concept, including Angelina Love in there as well.
Who would have thought Velvet Sky would be as popular as she is? I can't. You know, she's done fantastic, but she's a better heel than a babyface.
Those are the talents I think they should focus on and build. Now the question is, who do they bring in? At this point, you still need, in my opinion, you still need a Hogan. You still need a Flair.
Unless you get John Cena or Randy Orton,
stop.
You don't bring anybody else in. Because nobody else is going to move that dial.
Nobody has.
And you know what? I don't even think Randy Orton can move the TNA dial.
Not the same. Scale, scope, spectacle, or lack thereof. Soundstage, Madison Square Garden. It's not the same.
No, not even close.
It never will be the same. WCW, the difference there was, it was pretty much the same. Scale and scope.
But they had a network behind them.
Mm-hmm. Well, so does Spike. I'm sorry, so does TNA.
No, but they have TBS.
The Superstation.
Absolutely. And there was a personal vendetta there between Ted Turner and Vince McMahon.
Instead of bringing in those big names, more of those big names, and hoping they pay off, maybe they should build wrestlers who look like wrestlers.
Unique looks.
Which is why Suicide's on the list. Which is why Crimson's on the list. I don't know if we mentioned him, but he is actually on the list. Which is why Robbie E's on the list. Those unique looks. Rey Mysterio is a great talent in the ring. If he didn't wear a mask, if he didn't appeal to the children, it wouldn't be the same.
He wouldn't be as believable.
Right.
Because you'd see that baby face.
Yep. They need to keep some of those marquee talents, though, in my opinion, because we talked about how a Ric Flair could be used. We talked about how a Hulk Hogan could be better used. But if they stay with some of these stories and let them stick, and that's one thing WWE is not perfect at, but they're great at it. You don't realize half the time. That's why Raw has been such an amazing show for the last several weeks, because many of you don't even know what's happening. And I'm not knocking you or saying you're dumb or not smart, but you really have to dig deep into the show to listen to Jim Ross, to listen to what the talent is saying.
They're telling you what's going on.
To, as you say, look at how they're shooting things. Look at how much time people are getting. Every moment that you see publicly from WWE is planned for a greater, longer-term goal. Even if it's next week, it's all planned. It's all perfectly executed. It all is for something. And as you said, they're basically telling you. They're telling you. Vince McMahon in 1997, remember? Not 97, whatever it was. I know more than you what you want.
And
he said those words.
And he meant it, and he's right.
And he proves it. Time and time again. Well, that's how you fix it.
Really?
You think
they're
it's
watching?
that simple. Well, and look, I think, as a disclaimer to this series, as we're on the last episode of it, it's not easy to run a wrestling company. It's not easy to be in the shadow of WWE. Think of it. It's like another football league or another baseball league coming in and trying to take away some of the people. Yeah, take away people of the
analogy, isn't it?
take away people from the main league. They have to be different, and they were different with the knockouts in the X Division for a number of years. Right now, what's the difference between TNA and WWE, aside from the obvious that we've talked about in the last couple of weeks?
12,000 people?
And that's how you fix it. Be different. Be unique. Focus on what you have, which are your core strengths. The difference and the talent that you can give time to, that you can allow to build that relationship with the audience and explain to your audience who they are. When people are walking into that Impact Zone, David Hero, in Orlando, Florida at Universal Studios, there should be videos playing on the screen introducing AJ Styles, introducing Robert Roode, introducing Crimson.
Recaps.
Who are these people? Put a damn applause sign up in there. It ain't gonna hurt you. Why not? The list goes on, and as we talk about this, we've done this to try to give you some insight into what at least we're thinking about, not just the problems with TNA, but some of these things, the problems with wrestling overall. We're not saying we're going to go in and be able to fix this, or want to, or even think we can try. But from our standpoint as fans, this is the stuff that seemingly obviously could be the direction that TNA should be heading in from this point forward. So,
absolutely.
With that being said, your comments have been amazing over the course of these last 3 weeks on this series, and we appreciate those of you who agree and those of you who disagree, and we appreciate the conversation continuing in a respectful manner amongst each other. And, Frank reads the comments every week.
Yes,
and he
does.
reports back to us what people are saying out there. And I will say this. it's discouraging that, unlike what we just tried to do over the course of the last 3 weeks, explain the logic behind at least what our opinions are, that some people can't do that.
No. And
It's all name calling and screw you and suck my and do this and
Right.
Ninja, please. I mean, let's
Work
just
on your
have
oratory
conversations.
skills.
What?
Oratory.
I can't process
Google
that.
it. It'll be fine.
Cicely? We're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon here for the Pro Wrestling Report. For David Hero, this is Damian Nelson saying thank you for tuning in.